Hey, I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Our Life, Our Journey.
Our truth.
So excited to have you connected today. And let me tell you, 2025 is here and we're excited about all that God is doing.
Yes.
So many of you are supporting this platform. And it means a lot to us that you are supporting this channel. And as you're doing that, make sure that you like, make sure that you comment, make sure you
subscribe.
Yes.
And share with your friends and family.
There is. Make sure you do that because it's important for us to continue to build this community, to get information out. We're so encouraged by so many people who are telling us that you watch us regularly.
You're really engaged.
Date night. They've been a date night. And that means a lot to us. We get the word and it means a lot to us and we really appreciate it. So make sure you stay connected. Follow Dr. Steph at Dr. Steph right there on Instagram, Dr. Steph Walker. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3. And also you can go out there on josephwalker3.org and you can get some cool merch and things that we have out there. And one of the things we're excited about is our Becoming a Couple of Destiny conference. Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Countdown,
man. We want you to make sure that you and yours register. Meet us in Nashville, Tennessee at our Antioch location. And it's happening and the date's right here. I want to make sure you can register. You can do it right now. And you can actually text Becoming a Couple of Destiny, which is BCOD 25 to 78228. Make sure you do that. Go on our website, mountsidenashville.org. Check it out. We want you to register. We want to see you there. We want to see you there, whether you're married, maybe you are seriously dating, thinking about engaging, and say, let's talk about this. Let's walk through this to see what marriage is really about. Want you to be in that room. It's going to be a blessing. So hope you'll do
our best conference yet.
I believe it. I do believe it. We got some stuff we're going to pour into your life. Listen, we got a great topic today. Before we get into that topic today, surely today our thoughts and prayers are with our brothers and sisters
in Los Angeles.
Yes, many of you may or may not know that Dr. Steph is from
LA.
Los Angeles, yes. And we've been so impacted by the events that have happened with the fires. And of course, I do want you to know that our church is definitely poised to assist and help and partner with folks out there and Full Gospel Fellowship as well. But it's personal for you, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. First of all, if you're watching the news at all, you know this is such an unprecedented time, right? Like so much destruction. Took everyone by surprise. This has never happened to this degree, so close to the main city. And so, they're still trying to figure out not just what happened, but like still actively fighting fires. And I actually had a cousin who lost her home, like completely burnt down to the ground, lost every single thing that she had. And her name is Carlin Couch. And she is just a phenomenal woman. She's a giver. She loves people. She's constantly pouring into those around her. And I just believe that this is our opportunity to do the same for her.
Yeah, and so Carlin, we're thinking about you. And of course, we want all of our followers, all those who are on this platform, if you want to help directly touch someone that is special to us, the information you see the house, you see her picture, you see the ways in which you can support. They've set up a fund to help her. And let's put it over the top to help her rebuild and her family. She's such an amazing person.
And every little bit counts.
It does, whether it's $1, $2. Say you did something and you helped bless Dr. Steph's family. We appreciate that so much. So thank y'all so much, and we appreciate it. And we're praying for total restoration in Los Angeles,
God is
California.
good.
He is that. He is that. So today we have an interesting topic, babe. How do you know when it's time to pivot? Like, how do you know, when it's time to say, I've got to leave, I got to pivot? And the way to understand this is to be able to delineate how to move either in your emotions or out of devotion.
Well, I would even ask, like, how do you know? I think a lot of people, every once in a while may get the sense that this situation is not the right situation for me, right?
Yeah.
But how do you know that it's you? That it's not you versus the voice of God or your Holy Spirit.
Discernment.
Like, how do you know that you're not just tired or exhausted or lonely or or hungry or just in a bad mood or just someone just sort of pushed the wrong button that day? Like, how do you actually know that it truly is the time to move on, whether it's from a relationship or job, situation, like whatever, your current situation might be, like.
You just brought up a very good point. And I think that acronym HALT and write it down. HALT is
Hmm.
incredibly applicable right now because whenever you're hungry, whenever you're angry, whenever you're lonely, whenever
Whenever
you're
you're
tired,
tired.
it's not the time to make significant
Decisions.
decisions,
Right.
because you're not
Hmm.
making them logically. And a lot of
Hmm.
times we are in those places, particularly when we're angry.
Hmm.
I've seen people who, out of offense,
Yeah.
oftentimes say, well, maybe this is, the God's sign for me that
Yeah.
I should move or whatever. And we talk so often about,
Hmm.
this idea that just because you are like on a plane trying to
Hmm.
get to a destination, it doesn't
Hmm.
mean that turbulence will not be along the route. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean something's wrong with the
Yeah.
pilot, doesn't mean
Yeah.
something's wrong with the plane.
Hmm.
It's just a part of the
On
process.
every voyage, on
Yeah,
every journey,
gonna be.
every flight, anytime you're trying to get from one destination to the other,
Yeah,
whether it's proverbial or in
yeah,
real life or what
yeah,
have you, there you will come across turbulence.
yeah.
Turbulence does not always mean that, it's the wrong pilot or that's the wrong direction or you're going to the wrong city
Correct.
or you're heading in the wrong direction or that you shouldn't be on that plane going doing whatever that thing is that you're doing. Sometimes it's just par for the course, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think sometimes we get in our feelings and we think
Hmm.
at the moment of, conflict, at the moment of
Means
tension,
resign,
it means I'm
leave,
done. I'm out.
bounce,
I can't do
right?
it. I can't do
Abort
it. And
ship.
you will miss. Well, I
Yeah,
think about if I had walked away from where God had planted me because of
yeah,
frustration, man,
yeah,
how many
yeah.
lives would have been impacted because of my moving in my emotion.
It's so interesting. I'm glad that you said that because, I mean, at the end of the day, life is hard. Life can be difficult. Life can be challenging. Everything that's worth achieving, you're going to hit roadblocks
That's
and stumbling blocks, and there's always going to be someone that kind of tries to stand in your way to discourage you from moving forward.
right.
And you have to have the conviction to know that that's something that God or that's a road that God has placed you on, right? For me, whether it was getting through college at a PWI, whether it was going to medical school, residency, fellowship, whether it was, navigating relationships, even in this current season that we're in, whether it's marriage, like everything isn't always peaches and cream, sometimes we argue, fuss, disagree,
Yeah,
and sometimes it's come to a real head. But we could have parted many ways, we could have parted ways for many, many reasons,
yeah,
but we knew that that wasn't of God, right? I've not always made him, happy in terms of everything that I've said or done, and vice versa. But at the end of the day, we know that we're meant to be together. We know that we're better together. We know that we are a couple of destiny. And so at the end of the day, no devil in hell will destroy this relationship. And
yeah.
you also have to think about that just in the context of other things that you do in your life, not just
Yeah,
relationships.
which is ultimately purpose. It's ultimately destiny, right? It's
Yeah.
ultimately
Yeah.
understanding what
Yeah.
your destiny is. So, let's say then if a person, okay, I'm not moving in my, out of hunger
How do you
or
know?
anger,
Yeah.
yeah, out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
tiredness. How do I really know when it's time? And I
Hmm.
think that one of the things that I would like to suggest that when you know it's really time is, I think, when something is consistently threatening and damaging your mental health. I
Mm.
think that is a place where you say this is an unhealthy environment. So when the environment becomes so toxic and unhealthy that it truly does affect your mental health consistently, that the system or the place or the relationship is unwilling to change or move. So I think
Hmm.
I'm trying to suggest there's a static systemic kind of toxicity that
Hmm.
refuses to move in any other direction other than what it has always been, and
Hmm.
therefore a lot can come out of that, right? That constantly breeds a sense of attack upon a person's
Hmm.
mental health.
So you're referring to just like a negative environment.
Yeah,
So an
yeah,
environment that you're constantly forced to be in, and maybe not forced, sometimes you're
yeah,
choosing to be in
yeah,
those environments. So an
yeah,
environment that you're in
yeah.
whereby, you know, you're not getting spiritually fed, you're
Yeah,
not being
that's right.
emotionally fed,
That's
you're
right.
not sort of seeking, you're not able to get the,
Yeah.
not necessarily validation, because sometimes we do things that don't deserve validation, and the people around us that love us will not validate those things but try to guide you in the right direction, but you're not even getting the support that you need
There it is.
to
There it is.
sort of go to the next level or just to live a halfway decent life.
Yeah, yeah. It's too hard to try to
Yeah.
be in that environment. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean some environments are going to be
Yeah.
negative, but when the environment is just systemically static, like it is
Hmm.
content on being this way, I think that's when your mental health is threatened, and you have to kind of
Mhm.
protect your peace and say
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
better. No amount
Mhm.
of money, no amount of love, no matter what can make me stay
Mhm.
in this situation because my mental health matters. I think
Yeah.
that's an important
Yeah.
part, right?
Well, so yeah, and I guess I'm trying to play not devil's
Yeah.
advocate, never that, but just kind of like playing both sides, right? Because sometimes you may be in a work environment that is stressful, and there might be one or two people who are really pushing those buttons,
Mhm.
but it's sometimes where you need to be to get to the next level.
Mhm.
How do you navigate that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's great.
how do you
That's great.
know,
That's great.
you know what I mean?
That's
Because I
like the book
never want to
Fish.
get, yeah, I never
The book
want to
Fish.
give the impression that, you know, sometimes you can be in an environment where you are sad or you're not happy,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's you not getting the outside resources that you
Needs
need
to function in an
to
environment.
function in that
Yeah. Yeah.
environment
Yeah. Yeah.
versus that environment not being healthy
And
for
that's
you. You
clearly
know what I
that's
mean?
what the book Fish talks about,
Yeah.
right? Going to the Pike Place Market in Seattle and seeing these people incredibly happy and going back to the workplace that is incredibly, negative, and realizing that there's a way to change that environment, being a change agent in that
Yeah.
environment because I
Yeah.
have resources outside. I think that is a legitimate point. I think it needs to be made because I do not want people to watch this and say, "Oh yeah, I'm stressed out, my mental health,
I
and that
quit.
means I quit." Thank you,
Bye.
Bishop. No,
Yeah.
that's
No. No.
not
No. No. No.
necessarily what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
what she's saying is really, I think the key here, right? It may be the absence of resources
Mhm.
outside that can help you
Mhm.
function in that place because there are some places that are negative environments or two or three people may be negative, but you can't throw the baby out with the
The
bath
bath
water.
water. Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that
Mhm.
something that is consistently at
Yeah.
the core, deeply
Yeah.
rooted in the institution, not
Mhm.
your experience with two or three
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
And I think that's what
Mhm.
I'm getting at.
Yeah.
An experience with two or three people does not make
Right.
the whole organization toxic.
Hmm.
Uh,
And then even if it's not an organization, let's say it's a
person.
friend group,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
But the
gosh.
friend group is full of frenemies.
Frenemies. Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's time for you to find a new support
Yeah.
system.
That's true.
Like sometimes it might be a situation where you grew up with all of these people, but now you're, moving along your trajectory and you're
Yeah.
not getting the type of support that you used to get because
Yeah.
they think that you're acting different or funny or strange or what have you. And it's not about, kicking the people to the curb, but sometimes it is about sort of elevating yourself and identifying, okay, this is the season where I need to step away
Mhm.
and actually identify a group that can support
That's
me
good.
in my current season
That's good.
in terms of who I am, this new version of me. There's nothing wrong. Here we are in 2025. Who are you going to be in this
Yeah.
season?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be in this season? You can't take everybody along on the journey.
That's good.
Some people, on the journey, may want to be carried along with you. You can't carry people on your journey, right? Some people
Right.
will push you up the hill, okay? Some people will walk with you up the hill. Some people will run with you up the hill. But some people you'll have to drag.
Mhm.
Well, you don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have the energy.
Yeah.
You don't have the capacity to do that. So some of those relationships will need to part in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think one of the other things that is important when you think about when it's time to pivot,
Yeah.
I think whenever someone puts your destiny at risk,
Oh, Lord, yes. Mm-hmm. Been
when
there,
your
done that. Yeah.
future is at risk,
Yeah.
man, like too risky. It's too to be in this situation could cost me my family, my reputation, my
Mm-hmm.
life, my health.
Your trajectory, everything
Yeah,
that you worked hard for.
everything you worked hard
Yeah.
for could be undermined by this desire to be in this particular situation. And I see it so
Mm-hmm.
often, right? People
Mm-hmm.
will work their entire lives building up and getting to a certain level, and they'll connect with something that it's one decision can just
Mm-hmm.
wipe it all away. And so I think that's an important thing to
Yeah.
say to some of you who need to understand
Yeah.
that.
Sometimes it's a relationship, sometimes it's an individual, a person who you're like, oh my God, I'm so in love. And then you look up and you're flunking out of school.
Yeah,
Or because you're trying to
just
deal
a
with all
risk.
their issues, or maybe it's you have this really strong relationship with Christ, and you connect with this person, and now you don't even show up to church,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
you're engaging in activities that aren't right.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Perhaps it's a business move where you've connected with this new business partner, but now you are forced to compromise your values in order to maintain this business relationship. I would say it's not worth it. right?
At all, not at all. And I think that that's the whole idea, right? You're sacrificing your relationship with God and your destiny on the altar
Mhm.
of just trying to be in this particular situation. It's
Mhm.
costly. It's too costly
Yeah.
to be in those kinds of arrangements. And so I think
Certainly
that's
time to pivot.
no, absolutely. I
Mhm.
think that that's true. I think that's a.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that not only that I do think it's important. It's time to pivot. I think whenever I think violence
Oh,
is
100%.
present. Sometimes people are in these you know
Slippery slope.
it calls now the DV relationships,
Mhm.
domestic violence, and
Mhm.
I want to just say this: if you're in a domestic violence situation, it doesn't matter if it's emotional or verbal or physical, those relationships, it's just you deserve better, and nobody has a right to put their hand on you and in any capacity. And I think it's important to understand that. And oh, they didn't mean it, or this or that. Let me tell you something. You are more valuable than that, and you
Mhm.
have to know who you are, fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I just want to say that it is important. I'm not suggesting that it may not be redemption in that, forgiveness up the road. If a person's willing to go to therapy and work those things out. That's an independent decision you have to make. But I want to suggest that that is truly grounds to pivot. The moment you lay your hand, because I know if I lay my hand on you, what would happen? This would be a perfect time. When they had a thing on the internet where you have like, hey, honey, I didn't like this soup, and they had the film program.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
That's so more
Right.
crazy. No,
Boy,
see what I'm saying?
you
And she a
already
doc.
know.
She told me one time, this is so funny. She said, I'm a doctor. I said, what's that mean? She says, I have like 1,001 ways to kill you and nobody knows. I said,
Do
Lord
not put your
Jesus.
hands on me.
I know where all the vital veins are. I said, that's a shame. But no, we don't.
No,
But
obviously all in jest.
yeah,
Never
we
that,
just
never
kidding. Yeah,
that. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no. But I think that's important though, to really think about like whenever you find yourself in a violent situation, always, hey, you got to
Mhm.
get yourself removed from that because that can just escalate and escalate and
Mhm.
escalate. So I think those things are important. And I think
Mhm.
more importantly, I think what we're saying in this is that you have to come to a place of spiritual discernment in your heart of hearts. When you are a good person and you
Mhm.
truly have Holy Spirit guiding and leading you, and you're stepping out of something God wanted you in,
Mhm.
you know in your hearts of hearts that you and your feelings, your emotions, you know it,
Mhm.
and you know you're wrong. But when it's time to leave and you consistently stay, you'll never have peace. You'll constantly be, in tension in your heart and your soul because you're like, God, I just know I'm not supposed to be in this situation. And you're trying to
Mhm.
justify it. And Lord, I have seen it. People trying to justify dysfunction, trying to justify staying when it's time to pivot. And so, one of the other things I'll say this, and I'm done, is, and I hope that these things have helped you, right? But I think this will kind of put a bow around it. I think there's something, every time you leave or pivot, it doesn't have to be negative.
Mhm.
It's truly knowing when your season is up.
Yes.
Now, don't be lying out here on God, because we do this all the time. The Lord, my
Oh my,
seasons are about that. You
yeah.
lying on God. Don't listen.
Right.
I'm talking about
If you want to leave,
genuine.
just leave. Don't blame it
Yeah,
on
don't blame
God.
it on
Just say
God.
that you
Yeah,
don't want to be
that
there no
that
more.
won't be the month. But getting to a point where you feel like you have served faithfully and
Yeah.
fulfilled the assignment that God has given you
Yes.
completely.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
organization can then say, we are excited to send you on to your next. And you
Mhm.
leave without burning bridges. That's
Mhm.
how you know it's really time to pivot. When you say, I've
Mhm.
done all I can do in this
Yeah.
space, a new opportunities coming, and it's time for me to pivot. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be negative.
Sometimes it's like he's saying, you just understand that you've served your season there. And sometimes that looks like you're no longer growing,
That is,
right?
yeah.
Sometimes you've hit the ceiling in that organization, but you know that God has called you for more. Sometimes it's you've given everything that you have, all the skill sets that you
That's good.
have, you've utilized.
That's good.
And now there are people there who can do exactly what you're doing and you feel like there's more for you to do,
That's good.
but it can't happen where you are,
Yeah.
right? And so there's nothing wrong with wanting to be able to do more. And I'm a firm believer that if someone else can do it and is doing it well, then that's not my assignment. My assignment is something that is specific for me and is specific in terms of something that only I can do in my own way. And I'm not talking about, sometimes, there's 100 people doing the same job, right? But you're doing it the way that only you can do it, right?
That's good.
And sometimes you look up and you're like, my season is up. I know for me, like I tend to pivot about every 4 to 5 years. And if I don't pivot every 4 to 5 years, I find myself getting stagnant and bored because I pour out so much. When I look out and there's nothing else to pour out, or my ideas are dry, or I'm not able to be creative in that space, or I feel like I've given it everything that I have, I get really anxious and I get kind of antsy because I know that I can't be still. And I can't just sit and do the same thing over and over and over again in redundancy because I'm no longer growing. And I thrive off of growth and going to the next level and off of being challenged. And if I'm no longer being challenged in this environment, but I've fulfilled my assignment, I really feel strongly about moving on to the next challenge. And perhaps that's where you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. How do I know when it's time to pivot? I'm prayerful. I journal. I ask God for guidance. I seek his face. And when he tells me or gives me the sign to pivot that I can do so, I find this tremendous sense of peace and I'm able to move on, right? But sometimes, I'm still struggling and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then next morning I wake up and I'm like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. I don't feel comfortable, right? Then that means that decision has not yet been made because I'm still struggling in my spirit.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, well said. I mean, that is so important, right? All of us come to a place in our
Yeah.
lives, so we recognize that there are different seasons. I call them dispensations. So we pivot. That God is doing this thing and that thing. And sometimes you can pivot within the organization.
Yeah.
And pivot to another position, etc. Doesn't mean you have to leave to go find it. Particularly if the organization is healthy enough to acknowledge your giftings and your resources to
Yeah.
say, hey, now we're going to move you to this area and you continue to grow. Ultimately, it's about you growing, it's about you thriving, it's about you progressing and bearing fruit.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to do this episode, because we wanted you to know that don't make these decisions out of your emotions, out of your feelings. Make
Yeah.
these decisions because truly God spoke to you. And I tell you, when you allow God to order your steps and lean not to your own understanding, acknowledge him, he will direct your path. He'll tell you exactly where, but more importantly, he'll tell you when. I hope this has blessed you, man. This has been a good one, babe. And I hope that somebody's life has been tremendously blessed because of what you have heard. Let us know in the comment section if this one has been a blessing to you. Make sure you let us know on social media. We appreciate it so much. And again, make sure you are prepared to register and meet us at Becoming a Couple of Destiny Marriage Conference 2025 right here. I want to make sure you register. That's the information right there. Text it, go there, get it, guys. We want to see you
Can't
in
wait
Nashville.
to see you. That's right.
Yeah, 2 weeks away, and we cannot wait. So we're excited. We thank God for all of you. We love you. I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Until next time.